Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Faith Homestead Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Matt.
And thanks so much for joining us today. So today we're just going to give you kind of an update. We took last week off because of the Easter holiday. We hope that you guys had a wonderful Easter. We've had a lot going on here. My mom recently moved in. We are getting ready for, hardening off all of our plants. So the garden is going to be in full swing soon. And Matt has been dealing with a small engine repair that he's going to talk about today. So if you could please take a minute to subscribe where you're listening. If you're joining us on YouTube, thanks so much for joining us today. And if you are listening to us on your favorite podcast, we are so thankful that you're with us today. So do you want to start us off by talking about our ongoing bamboo issue that we are facing?
So I had the idea to chipper the bamboo up this year. I got it all cut down and finally can see our fence line on the property line there, and wanted to get it chopped up and get it taken out. Last year I cut a lot of it down into 4-foot segments and was trying to make it work in lawn bags, taking 25 lawn bags out a week of bamboo.
Man.
Not only was it really tedious, but it was a pain in the neck because the bags were ripping. It would rain, they'd fall apart. I was redoing the work over and over again, so didn't want to do that again. So I thought I had the brilliant idea of just put it through a chipper. So
Womp, womp, womp.
started talking with some people and, asking around if anybody had one, which fortunately somebody did. It had some issues, was told a fuel line was bad. Just, simple, replace the fuel line. You can use that thing as long as you want. You can return it whenever you want. And the fuel line really wasn't the problem. Carburetor was bad. Kind of knew it right away. Looked at the fuel line. It's not bad. Not something that typically is going to go bad, especially on a machine that's not that old. So got into the carburetor, quickly realized there was so much stuff gunk built up into the carburetor. I said, it wasn't worth it. Just buy a new one.
Yeah.
Today's world, Amazon, get these things cheap. I think we paid $16.
Yeah, we got it within 30 hours, I
Not
think.
even. Yeah, it was we ordered it one day and had it the following day.
Yeah.
So why rebuild the carburetor? So put the new carburetor on, one pull, motor fired right up. Thought we were good to go. It ran for about an hour and has yet to turn over since that point.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Not a small engine mechanic by any stretch, but know a little bit about them.
You are really good.
Started checking the three big things, right? So fuel, air, and spark, and it's like, do we have all three of these things? I've got all three. What's going on? Checking compression to see what's happening next. I think that this engine, while it's still a relatively newer engine, I think it wasn't really taken care of the best, I guess, right from day one. And so I think this is going to be a full engine tear down and rebuild. Working on it at nighttime now just to try to see if I can figure out maybe a valve burnt, something like that, where clean it up, I can get it back running again without having to really spend a lot more money, but also a lot more time. So that's something that this is one of those times where we weigh out the frugality versus time costs.
Yeah, and we're going to be honest. We had a little bit of a nice argument about this the other day. I just, really, Matt's time is so valuable. And I was, don't spend too much time working on it because I really want to, we have so many projects around the house that I want to get done. And he gets into a project and he knows that he can fix it. That's not even a question. I know that Matt is going to be able to figure this out, but it's really a time factor. So I was thinking about possibly renting, a chipper, but then again, you have the cost. So like Matt said, it's, is it worth the rental cost versus the time that he's putting into it?
And could I get it all done in the time allotted that I would have on a rental? Right?
Yeah.
So I don't think I'd have it done in 4 hours or even a full day rental, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe a weekend.
And it becomes, for me anyway, with the rentals, especially when we do our yearly log splitter rental.
Yeah.
Because we don't own a log splitter. Different reasoning behind that, which I don't know if you want me to get into now or not.
You don't have
to. Maybe as we spend some time over the summer prepping for wintertime, we can talk about that. But, when I rent that piece of equipment and I have a certain amount of time, I'm running it for that amount of time. I need to make the most of that time that I have. Life's little things, hiccups that pop up, I need help with. One kid won't go down for nap easy today, or we're going to have an argument over lunch. Like, those things don't play a part those days, because I have 8 hours on a rental. I'm running this machine for 8 hours. I try to get my projects up to the point where I can spend that whole time with that piece of rental equipment. I don't want to stop and go, okay, well, I need to do a little bit more work somewhere else to make this happen now. So for me, it's, using those rentals and getting the most out of not only the money that we're putting out, but also the getting that project to that finish line. So, the bamboo is going to continue to be, it's not necessarily priority number one. This project was something that I had planned because Sarah had talked about wanting to get meat birds this year and letting them clean up that side of the property where the bamboo had taken over.
Yeah.
Really let them get in there, house
which
it,
they still could.
out.
It's just they can't do that with 1,000 bamboo shoots in the way. So
while it's not the most prime project that we have going right now, it's one of those projects that if we have it done, we can really start to push forward on the other projects that we have and plans that we have for our backyard and what we want to do, turning it into
my homestead haven.
The true use of property that you'd like to have.
Yeah, we have a lot on the horizon. There's going to be a lot of videos coming to you. I have a wonderful lady at church. Her name is Kathy. She's going to be giving us a couple apple trees that she started from seed. We actually talked about it this morning at church. She did have 3, but she realized that one was a maple. So she's going to give us the 2 apple trees, not the maple. I think she said maple or oak. I can't remember. But we have a couple projects that we're going to be doing. I did the video 2 weeks ago, the day on the homestead, which a lot of you guys liked. And I'm thinking I'm going to do some more of those. We are going to be putting up an Amish-style clothing line soon, which is something that I'm really excited about. And I'm not going to get too into that right now because, of course, you can Google Amish clothing line, but it's not exactly the same. But we will be videotaping that and showing you exactly what we're going to be doing. I also want to pose a question for you guys today. So now it's April, almost towards the end of April, and I would like to know how long are you going to hold out? Are you okay? You're choking on water. I want to know how long you and your family are going to hold out on turning the air conditioner on this year. I know that's the great debate. I see it on Facebook every year. People are like, how long are you going to hold out? And they're like, oh, we've turned it on today. And I do see some people that end up, they go pretty long. They go into June, and it's really impressive. But we are facing economic times that are not like we have in our adult life. And so we are trying to not spend $500 a month on our electric bill this summer by running the air conditioner. And last year we started with the frugality. Last year we started by having our AC at 68, which was our comfort zone. And by the end of August, we had slowly incrementally increased it, and we were at like 75. And so we just did that very slowly over the course of a few months. And I was really proud of that because we hadn't ever lived in that type of the uncomfortability, or however you want to say that. But this year we are going to try really hard on not turning our air conditioner on until it gets really unbearable. We just bought a couple more tabletop fans for our children's bedrooms. So everybody has a fan that is not right on top of them, but is on, pretty near to them. We have realized we had a heat wave this week, which is actually kind of insane for April, but we had a heat wave. It was in the 90s this week. And so what we did was we opened the windows after dinner, and it was hot upstairs, but we opened the windows, and the kids and us, we kind of just dealt with that heat until around 10 o'clock when it started to cool off. And by the morning time, it was probably like 68 and 69 in our house. And we shut all the windows, closed all the curtains in our house. I'm just going to say I'm really impressed. The house stayed at 72 during the heat wave. And so that was something that I was really proud of. And so we're going to really just try to implement that and to try to not turn our air conditioner on just because we can. And so that's just something that I want to mention. But stay tuned because we're going to have a lot of, videos in the coming weeks of things that we're doing around the house and around the homestead to save money and to just kind of, peel away from those little things that add up over the summer. So also this week, so as you guys know, we got AeroGardens for Christmas. Matt's mom got me an herb AeroGarden, which had 12 pods in it. And Matt got me the AeroGarden Farm XL, which is actually really cool right now. We have lots of red tomatoes. We actually didn't even trellis our tomatoes. And I make a joke, and there's this thing called square foot gardening, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. And we've never done square foot gardening in our garden, but now that I have and that we have successfully grown hydroponically, I think we have 8 tomato plants within 2 inches of each other in this thing, and they're prolific. We're doing really, really good with them, and we haven't even had to trellis them up. I have been really strict about the pruning though. I'm in there every week, and I'm clipping off the bottom branches that serve no purpose, and I'm only letting the branches that have flowers remain. And I think that's helped a lot, and I'm going to implement that into my garden this year. I've kind of been lazy with that. I've never been one to go out and snap off suckers with my tomato plants. I know Matt has occasionally, but I really just haven't. This year, I'm going to be snapping and going into that garden and pulling off, plants that we just don't, like the bottom plants that have no purpose of a tomato plant. But we've pulled out so many tomatoes on this AeroGarden, and it's square inch gardening. It's really unbelievable. But anyway, we had our herb garden. We started both of our AeroGardens right after Christmas. I have harvested so much from our AeroGarden. This is the most recent harvest that I harvested 2 days ago, before I completely disassembled my AeroGarden. If you want to see that video on how to disassemble the AeroGarden, but actually save the root systems to then repot outside so you can then grow your herbs outside, you can watch that video. It is also posted on my YouTube channel. But here is just a bunch of if you're on the podcast, you can go on YouTube to see this. This is at minute 13. You can see these herbs, but here are the herbs that I harvested: basil and dill, and mint and parsley. And this is just from the harvest the other day that I had hanging already. So the stuff that I just harvested 2 days ago is now hanging. It's in our kitchen. It's crazy the amount. But I noticed that after so many months, you can't just keep it going because the root system, gets prolific in the water, and eventually it's not going to be able to soak up the nutrients that it needs to. So I have a whole video up on YouTube. You can watch that on how we were able to save all the root systems. We were able to pot all of them outside. So our AeroGarden will continue to grow outside. So that's just, really getting the bang for your buck on that. So that was something that was really cool.
And it'll be interesting to see how quickly it takes to get them back to harvest again.
Yeah, for sure.
After moving them.
Yeah.
Because right now where we are, while it's been warm this past week, it's still probably a little bit early for getting some stuff in the ground, right?
Yeah.
So
we're getting close.
It's close, but not quite there yet. Mm-hmm. So while these plants are from the AeroGarden going outside, it may be something timing-wise next year where maybe we start them 3 weeks later.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, herbs are pretty hardy. But, I mean, to be completely honest, we're going to be dipping back into the upper 60s and low 70s this week, but I really think they're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to be hardening off my greenhouse. My greenhouse is out of control right now. I'll put up a YouTube short this week so you can see how insane it is. We are out of space. It is like a jungle. I have 2 little plants here. If you're on the podcast, you can go. We're at minute 15 on the YouTube video. But here is some cabbage. It's, super ready to be put in the ground. Here we have some Black Beauty eggplant. looking beautiful. I have so many different peppers and tomato plants that are just ready. They are ready to go outside. They are ready to be put into the ground. They're ready to be sold and sent to their homes. So,
and while the garden is prepped as well, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier on in the podcast series here, but being ahead of that, it's kind of exciting because we can just walk out to the garden, move some wood chips, and get stuff in the ground, right?
So nice.
I used to hate going out there and having to, even if we did a great cleanup at the end of the growing season.
Yeah.
You had all kinds of cleanup you had to do before you could put anything in the ground. This year, it's going to be walk out, put the stuff in the ground, and let's, continue on. Which really has me even more excited about expanding what growing opportunities that we have.
He has a whole plan with the whole backyard. You want to do orchards and
stuff. I think that there's a lot that we can do. I think some of it might be... it might be a stretch. It might be a little bit of a reach for, especially for growth and being able to harvest everything, right? So to me, the biggest waste of time is creating this beautiful garden and building everything out to look amazing. You get fruit and then you don't harvest. Or maybe you can't eat as much as you have ready to harvest on a weekly basis and it sits on the vine rotting. Yeah. Or you harvest it all and then it's just, let's see if we can give this away to anybody, which I'm all about doing that part of it. But personally, I want to be able to take the hours and the time and the labor that we've put into it and put it onto the shelf in the pantry, making sure that all winter long we have all of that stuff ready to go. I saw a really interesting story of a couple who have been a full year off grid now, basically, no electric.
Was it Doug and Stacy?
Just planning and growing everything they're going to eat, consuming the animals that they are, the livestock, I guess is the correct word for it. But consuming the livestock that they have kept on their property and really becoming this completely off the grid. And while I think that off the grid is great,
if you can do it, for sure.
I don't know though that it's just the end all be all either.
Mm-mm.
If we have the ability to have electric, why not use electric type thing?
But we're not there yet. And I think you should plan and prepare to be able to be as off-grid as you possibly can for any given situation. But something that, can help you if you're in a position where you can afford, you're out of debt and you can afford a different method of food preservation, we, totally endorse Harvest Right. We are actually in the process of getting a Harvest Right freeze dryer. And so we will link our affiliate link in the description below. You really should check them out. So, of course, I have been an avid canner for over a decade, and we do a lot with dehydration. And I actually just taught a course at my local church on food preservation. And a few of the people who, attended my course actually have bought canners and dehydrators since then, and they are just loving it. It's just opens up a whole new world to being prepared, because you're able to preserve food, especially things like that you get on clearance in this day and age. When you go to a grocery store and there's the last chance and you find a bag of apples and you're like, well, they're a little too soft and my kids aren't going to love them, but they'd be great to turn into apple chips. That's where you save money, and that's where you take these small steps to self-reliance and self-sufficiency. And so if you are in the market for a freeze dryer, you can, when you're in the depths and the heat of the summer of August, and you are just so exhausted from canning and preserving food, you can just throw some food right into your Harvest Right. And it's just such a quick, way to preserve food when you are just kind of at your ending of what you can handle. We get that way towards the end of the summer. We've been harvesting all summer long, and we're just we're so tired of canning things that you kind of you do fall a little, on the wayside of what your priority level is with that. But in that, you lose a lot of stuff. I mean, we go out and there's tomatoes that we haven't picked, and it's just, why even do all the work if you're just not going to harvest all of the produce and all that. So Harvest Right would be a great option if you are, able to afford it. So
yeah, and I think that there's, for me personally, when we get the seeds started, greenhouse is growing, everything is going great, and that's work. And
it's so much work.
We get them into the ground out in the garden, right? And that's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And then there's this beautiful window of a week, maybe 10 days, where you don't have to do anything to that garden.
Yeah.
And then it's like right back to the work again.
Yeah.
You start right back up. You're now, taking those suckers out. You're making sure you're staking up the plants that need it. Mm-hmm. If we're trellising, getting those trellises weaved through, getting it growing the way you need it to. It's all work. By the end of summer, it's like, man, I've been working.
Kind of tired.
Right. You get those first results, and it's like, I don't know, for me personally, either I'm grabbing one off the vine, tomato, whatever it may be, taking a bite of it. But then it seems like we cook a lot of it. As soon as we get to harvest, it's like much. Fresh right off the vine. Like, let's put it into the pan.
And then we're canning. We're getting our first 40 quarts, and we're like, oh, this is so beautiful. Look at these tomatoes. Look at this salsa. And then it's like, we just peter out. You get to 100 quarts, and you're just like, oh my goodness, can I do any more?
Right.
And we have a big family. We have a family of 5. My mom just moved in, so now we have 6. We really need to up our game and make sure that we're staying on top of the things that we are harvesting and growing. So, do you have anything else you want to say? That you want to do anything for Self-Reliant Sunday, or?
Well, I think that for me this week, especially battling with not only the bamboo but the small engine, with the the garden stuff and prep, and the all the things that are going on, I think that something that I missed this week, especially, I didn't detach from being frustrated with the project on the small engine. Was wrapped up in it, couldn't really see the entire picture, and I had Thomas with me, and I actually, just stepped away from it. We started just, raking up some sticks in the front lawn, getting ready to be able to start mowing the grass and stuff like that. And, he was asking questions about what was going on. And it was actually helpful to me to kind of just step away, walk away from it for that moment, and then, get outside of that little bit of that storm clouds over my head. I can't figure out what's wrong with this thing. I'm going to take this whole thing apart, and until I find it. And it really did kind of help me get a better grasp on what was going on, but also realize that, I was getting pretty frustrated with it, getting angered with, the fact that things that should be fixing it weren't fixing it. So, I think part of self-reliance, again, we've talked about it all along, is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. But I think also at the same time, being able to detach from a situation, step back and look at that whole picture. Doesn't mean we necessarily have to stop being uncomfortable, but we need to definitely know when it's time to kind of take that pause as well. So, that was something that Thomas helped me through, raking up some yard debris in the front lawn to, this past weekend. And I think it's something that'll be important and helpful as we move through the journey of life.
Yeah, that's a great place to stop. Well, guys, we thank you so much for joining in with us today. We have a lot coming in the pipeline, so stay tuned. I am really excited to have my clothesline put up, so that's going to be soon, right? All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great Sunday. Bye.